Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Saturday, October 4th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Minnesota game is today, the game against Michigan in 56 days. Yes, just 8 weeks from that last regular season game of the year for the Buckeyes. Season flying by. So make sure you're enjoying it. One great way to enjoy it is with our friends at Grateful Griddle. It's Columbus's favorite food truck, as you know well. Serving up smash burgers, gourmet sandwiches, and good vibes. Book your catering today at gratefulgriddleoh.com. On today's show, you're going to get to hear a little bit from Ryan Day and a little bit from Luke Montgomery. Normally, this is kind of just a Ryan Day show. Luke Montgomery was a little bit of a quote machine during the midweek interviews this week, so you're going to get to hear a little bit from him as well. But we'll start with Ryan Day, and we'll start on the other side of the offensive line, or the other side of the line of scrimmage from the offensive line, with defensive tackle Taiwan Malone. He has earned a bigger role this season, and at a spot where the Buckeyes really needed someone to step up, it feels like he has done just that. So, Ryan Day, how has Taiwan Malone earned that bigger role this season?
Well, he's been consistent in his approach. Probably I think he graded out his best game that he's graded out so far this year against Washington. So I think his confidence is improving. You're seeing more consistency. He's using what he's doing in practice and in his learning about what needs to be done in terms of taking on blocks in a run game and also in the pass rush. Using the tools that Coach Johnson and Coach Patricia are giving him, and now they're starting to show up on the field. And it's a mindset, and his mindset's changed, and because of that, you're seeing better play.
The life of a place kicker is never easy. You can hit field goals all year long, but if you miss one in a big spot, that's all you're going to hear about. Jaden Fielding, he was banged up a little bit last season. He's healthy now. He's feeling better. He's looking better, too. He has really turned into something of a weapon for the Buckeyes. How has he been so solid this year for Ohio State?
It might be our leading tackler on kickoff, which is not good. But he passed the toughness test, I guess, for a kicker. No, I think that he every day in practice he's getting more and more consistent, and we put him into situations where if we make the field goal, everyone goes on to period two. If we don't, we have up downs or gassers, and we're constantly putting him in situations where they're meaningful, and he keeps answering the call on those and proving that we can trust him in big moments, and that's what this is all about, is earning trust every day. And he's doing that with his teammates. And when you're a kicker, it's one shot, one kill. That's the terms we use, because when you go in there, you only got one shot to be right. And it's about discipline. It's about focus and making sure that, you're not worried about anything other than just, that one play and that kick. And he's shown that he's doing that. His confidence is getting higher and higher. And, we're going to need him, because at some point this season, it's going to come down to those types of plays, coming down to 1 point, one play, and we're going to need them.
One of the things that Ohio State fans are kind of looking for right now and not really finding as much as they want to is explosive plays from that offense. They certainly had some opportunities to take downfield shots last week. Didn't really happen. So are they looking for more opportunities? Why did they not take more shots downfield last week?
Well, I think there's a lot that goes with it. There certainly were plays that were designed to push the ball down the field, but coverage dictated that, we had to either check the ball down or the second part of the route or whatever it might be. So we're always going to look to create explosive plays, but we also have to take what the defense gives us and be willing to do that. I think just across the country, you're seeing a lot of defenses, with the number of plays going down, keep it in front, make them, drive the entire field, not give up explosive plays. I listened to Coach Fish's press conference, and it was like, we're just going to keep it in front and make them work the ball all the way down the field. I thought they had a good game plan. But we also had 16 plays over 10 yards, which is good. And if we're finishing off the drives, and we're really efficient, that's what matters the most, which is a contrast to maybe where it was a few years ago when the clock stopped after first downs, when we were working more off a no huddle. The game was a little bit different, and you were seeing more plays and more points. But ultimately, it's about efficiency and winning the game. So it's all cyclical, but we're always looking to be explosive, as you know.
One thing we've heard about a number of players on this year's team is that they play with an edge. You hear that about Phillip Daniels on the offensive line. You hear that about Davis Nigbinosin on the defense. Certain guys that really kind of push the boundaries a little bit. What does it mean to Ryan Day to have a guy who plays with an edge?
it's funny when you have different people come watch you practice. Greg Madison came out to practice today, which was great to see him, and just different people come. Coach Tressel was here yesterday, and just different people watch, and people who have been around football. You just ask their opinion, and this goes back to spring, in August, and then now, and just get a lot of feedback. You guys, you have a good team, but you're a lot different than you were last year. Just different. And when you ask me, what do you see? And I think I've said this for a while. It's an edgy group. They're competitive. They go after it every day. There was a point in the spring where we had to stop practice and just run 53s because there were fights breaking out in practice, and that's not a good thing for discipline. But it did show that these guys, they're edgy and they like to compete, and that's something that we want to have as an identity. And I think you're seeing that with this group. Now we have to understand that we can't have penalties and we have to be disciplined, but these guys are going to back down to nobody, and they like playing, and they got an edge and chip on their shoulder, and that's the way we have to be. And I'll just go back to that too. I think it's important. I believe this, and I share this with the guys every day. The most desperate and hungry team is going to win every Saturday, and we have to make sure that we wake up every day in that same mentality. And that's when you win games, week after week. Sometimes that's not easy to do. So it's my job, and it's our job as coaches, and it's the job of the leaders here to make sure we wake up with a bad attitude every day, and that we're showing up with an edge. And it's okay if you piss somebody off once in a while, because that's how you have to play this game. This game is not played any other way, and that's the way we have to practice. And if we're practicing that way, we're going to play that way.
A couple of these sort of unsung heroes from last week's win at Washington were left guard Luke Montgomery and center Carson Hinsman. Last week, in front of a very loud crowd at Husky Stadium out in Seattle, Buckeyes went on a silent count for pretty much the whole game and really had no issues operating in a loud environment. So what did that mean to the team to have those two guys step up like that?
Yeah, I think Luke and Carson were both the players of the game, which has never happened before here. But I felt like on the road, they handled themselves like pros. Luke was looking back to get the signal. His back is to the defense. Carson is making the calls in a loud environment. And the two of them, I thought, handled that excellent. And I thought it had to do with their approach going into the bye week and the way they handled it. And that took a lot of pressure off of everybody, including the quarterback. And so I think for Luke, once he got his opportunity there in the playoffs, he took it and ran, and he had an edge. He had some competitiveness. Like, he'd come off the field and start throwing me around. I mean, you just love that as a coach, and he played that way through the playoffs. He's built his confidence up in the off season in the weight room, and you're starting to see him play his best football right now.
Now, from hearing about Luke Montgomery to hearing from Luke Montgomery, he is a really friendly and outgoing guy off the field. Very fun interview. A lot of those offensive linemen have just a way of being some of the more interesting and fun interviews that we get to do. But Luke Montgomery certainly fits in that group. So friendly off the field, certainly. Once he steps across that white line, maybe a little bit less friendly out there. Saw once or twice last week where he really drove his guy into the ground at Washington. What makes him like that?
Play through the whistle. Yeah. I didn't hear a whistle. I usually don't hear a whistle, so it's good that he didn't call a flag. But we do that a lot. We're 4 to 6 A to B +2 here. We gotta find that edge, and we gotta just continue to drive people and put them in the dirt. And that's like a touchdown as an offensive lineman. So you feel good when you do that, when you got your guy on the ground like that.
Montgomery, as the left guard, mentioned that he's sort of playing next to center Carson Hinsman. He's also playing next to left tackle Austin Siereveld. What has Montgomery learned playing next to Siereveld so far this year?
Just the confidence he has as a player. I learn from a lot. I learn stuff from him every day, and he's a better person and works as hard as he is off the field. He's a great dude, and we hold that left side down. We talk about that every day and stuff like that. So it's I think we have confidence in each other every day, obviously, but we feed off each other, and that helps.
And then at the other tackle spot is Phillip Daniels. Mentioned him earlier as someone who plays with an edge, and Luke had a different phrase for him. Called him a kill-minded human being. You're going to hear that and think, did I hear that correctly? Yes, you did. So what has Luke Montgomery learned from Phillip Daniels and about Phillip Daniels since he got to Columbus earlier this year?
You learn that he's a kill-minded human being on the field. He loves putting people in the dirt, and you feed off that as an offensive lineman. And he's kind of changed our group a little bit just coming in, and we see a little bit of a different identity with our group this year, I think.
Daniels, of course, was a transfer from the University of Minnesota, so he will be taking on his old team on Saturday night in the Horseshoe. 7:30 kickoff on NBC. We'll be there. We'll have our usual pregame show for you, as well as our postgame show. Planning on live on both of those, so you want to be part of those, you can. All you got to do is join us at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. This would be a great time. Take a moment right now. Make sure you're subscribed there at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. Also, make sure you have hit that bell so you get notified when we do those live shows. Obviously, just a good reminder that, hey, they're about to go live at the end of the game, or hey, when we're going to be going live before the game to preview the game, talk about the availability report, all that kind of fun stuff. That will all be coming up later on Saturday at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. Enjoy the football. We'll talk to you next time.